Today we're diving deep into Chapter 7, which has a pretty telling title, Maccabean Zealots of Righteousness to Hasmonean Wicked Priests. It's a fascinating story about how heroes can become villains.
So, this really is the question the entire chapter hangs on. It's the story of how a celebrated family of freedom fighters, the Maccabees, transformed into a dynasty that the book The Wars of Light and Darkness calls corrupt usurpers. So you have to ask, how on earth did that happen?
To really understand this transformation, we've got to start where the book does, right in a moment of pure chaos. After the hero, Judah Maccabeus, is killed in battle, the faithful in Israel are left completely leaderless, and the situation, well, it's absolutely dire.
This wasn't just a political crisis. You've got pro-Greek factions rising up again, a famine is sweeping the land. It must have felt like the end of the world. And in that moment of desperation, the remaining rebels turned to Judah's younger brother, Jonathan.
Now, you have to know, Jonathan isn't the legendary warrior his brother was, but he's a very shrewd guerrilla leader. He and his men pull back to the wilderness and wage this hit-and-run war against the Seleucid general Bacchides. For years, it's basically a stalemate. Jonathan's an outlaw, right? A rebel leader, hiding out in the desert. But then, an event happening far away from Judea changes absolutely everything.
So for years, Jonathan's this outlaw, but then a crisis way outside Judea's borders presents him with this offer that's, well, it's irresistible, but it's also completely fateful. A civil war breaks out in the Seleucid Empire, and suddenly two rival kings are desperate for his help. And this is the choice that would change the course of history forever.
All of a sudden, Jonathan Maccabee, this desert rebel, is maybe the most important man in the entire Seleucid Empire. Both the king, Demetrius, and the challenger, Alexander Ballas, know he commands the loyalty of Judea's fighters. So they start a bidding war for his support. Demetrius offers power, legitimacy, governorship. But Alexander Ballas, he makes an offer that is both irresistible and, according to the Wars of Light and Darkness, completely forbidden.
Okay, to really get the gravity of this, you have to understand what the High Priesthood was. I mean, this was not some political appointment that a foreign pagan king could just hand out. It was Israel's most sacred office, a divine inheritance that was passed down through one family, and one family only, the priestly line of Zadok, for nearly 1,000 years. This was the spiritual heart of the entire nation. Alexander Ballas, a pagan king, offers Jonathan the high priesthood. He's basically trying to make a guerrilla warrior the spiritual leader of an entire people, all in exchange for military support. According to the Wars of Light and Darkness, this was a line that should never, ever have been crossed. It was an act of political convenience that was about to have devastating spiritual consequences. And on the Feast of Tabernacles in 152 BCE, Jonathan accepted. He put on the sacred vestments of the high priest. This single act is what the book, The Wars of Light and Darkness, points to as the origin, the very beginning, of the figure known in the Dead Sea Scrolls as the wicked priest.
Now, Jonathan's choice to take the priesthood wasn't just some personal decision. It had immediate, explosive consequences. It literally tore the nation in two, creating a deep and permanent schism, a spiritual civil war between those who backed their new Hasmonian leadership and those who saw it as an unforgivable betrayal of God.
So that begs the question, right? What happened to the Zadokites, the family that had held the priesthood for centuries? Well, they didn't just vanish. They formed a powerful opposition, and they rallied around their own charismatic leader, a figure known to us from the Dead Sea Scrolls as the Teacher of Righteousness. They saw Jonathan as a hero who was completely corrupted by power and by wealth. He started out as a loyal defender of the faith, but in their eyes he betrayed everything for his own gain, transforming from a zealot of righteousness into the wicked priest. The source, The Wars of Light and Darkness, draws a really direct line between Jonathan's actions and what ultimately happened to him. After taking the priesthood, he actively persecutes the Teacher of Righteousness and his followers. And then, years later, Jonathan himself is betrayed and executed by his Seleucid allies. To his opponents, this was no coincidence. It was divine justice for his sacrilege. Jonathan's death left the high priesthood vacant, and maybe there was a chance to heal the rift, but that's not what happened. Instead, his brother, Simeon, took power. And he didn't just continue the usurpation. He created a full-blown dynasty of usurpers, making that division permanent. And you have to admit, Simeon was a brilliant strategist. He pulled off what his brothers couldn't, full political independence for Judea. But he used that new power to lock down his own. He replaced the ancient Zadokite council with his own loyal Great Assembly, which then made this stunning decree. Simeon and his sons would be high priests forever. He established a new hereditary Hasmonean dynasty.
And let's be really clear here, this wasn't just a political move, it was a religious revolution. The decree made it illegal for the rightful Zadokite priests to even get together. This act formalized the schism, which the Dead Sea Scrolls frame as this epic, apocalyptic struggle between the Sons of Light, the Zadokite loyalists, and the Sons of Darkness, the Hasmonean regime.
This permanent split had catastrophic consequences. According to the Wars of Light and Darkness, this new line of Hasmonean priest-kings became more and more tyrannical and corrupt. They created this dark legacy of division that totally betrayed the memory of their heroic ancestors.
Just take Simeon's successor, John Hyrcanus. He was facing popular opposition, so he did the unthinkable. He broke into the sacred tomb of King David, plundered its treasures, and then used that money to hire foreign mercenaries to police his own Jewish subjects.
Then his son, Aristobulus I, went even further. He wasn't just happy with being high priest, he crowned himself king of the Jews. So he usurped the throne of David as well as the altar of Zadok. And being deeply paranoid, he imprisoned his own mother and brothers, and even starved his mother to death.
But if you want to see the absolute rock bottom of this dynasty's moral collapse, you just have to look at the reign of Alexander Jannaeus. His rule was just pure brutality. After a popular revolt, he slaughtered tens of thousands of his own people. In one infamous act, he had 800 of his Pharisee opponents crucified, and he forced their families to watch while he feasted with his concubines. The heroic Maccabean line had devolved into monstrous tyrants.
Which brings us right back to the central theme of this whole chapter. This wasn't just ancient politics. The Wars of Light and Darkness argues that this schism, this war between two rival priesthoods, two different visions of faith, created these deep fractures that would shape the religious landscape for centuries to come, setting the stage for the Messianic movements and apocalyptic fervor that would soon emerge from the wilderness. Please like and subscribe for more videos like this. For more information or to purchase this full volume, please press on the link in the description.